In a culture of opposing opinions and challenging times, how do you get your head above water and get a breath of fresh air? You look for hope. You look for answers. And we shift from silos of segregation to social engagement in a quest for solutions. Stop talking about what the problem is and let's discuss how to fix it. Join us now as America Connects with your host, Rob Dalton.
Hello, America. Welcome. I'm Rob Dalton. This is America Connects. Thank you for joining us today for another episode. I get out and about, and I like to talk to America when I'm traveling myself, and I like to find out what's going on. And I'm finding that the people need to know how to travel. As I'm traveling a little bit for what I do, I'm noticing that there are people out there that want to travel but don't know where to go. So today I wanted to have a show about traveling in our COVID-19 pandemic culture right now. This show is not so much a talk show as much as an answers show. I find it necessary with all the talk out there and all the talk shows and sometimes people's small circles of influence or internal thoughts. There's a lot of sometimes toxicity out there. There's a lot of division among us. And what I like to do is bring the world around and unite about answers, solutions, getting rid of some of the self-thoughts that and the circle that you're in that can drive so much negativity. How about we just sit around sometimes and talk about what can we do about it? How can we fix some things? What can we do that we're not doing that can actually maybe change ourselves, change our friends, open up our positive circle of influence, and possibly change the world? And that's what we're doing today. Today's talk is about, with summer vacations behind us, what have people done this past summer, the first summer of our pandemic, when they travel? What works, what doesn't, what should we do, and what should we not do? So let me have a moment to just introduce the topic. With this COVID-19 and the pandemic, stress has really gripped us all. We could all use a vacation almost weekly from everything that we're doing and the subtle changes and the dramatic changes in our lives. Many of us wrapped up the summer, some taking vacations, some did not. But many that did take the time away and did so successfully. They were able to conquer some of their phobias, some of the safety issues, and there were some really good ideas that people this summer practiced and got out and got away. Some simply took camping and weekend vacations, and some people did significant trips visiting family or maybe even some of the parks out there like Yellowstone and others. But as we know, a lot of the parks, the popular theme parks, are either closed or severely restricted. So what can we do now to get some time off and get away and get back to work with safety in mind? Many of us out there want to travel but have concerns. Many played it safe and some stayed at home out of fear but just weren't sure what to do. So what can we do safely out there to get around and get out of town if that's something we want to do? Where can we go? What have others done? We've got unused vacation from the summer vacations. Most of the vacations run annually with a calendar year. I know many in my circle have unused vacation, and they're already looking, since this pandemic didn't go away and things didn't get better this summer, as we were all thinking it was going to be a short-term situation. What do we do with the unused vacation time? Do we practice staycations? Do we just take time off work and stay at home? The last place I want to be sometimes is at home, even more than I am, so I'd like to get out. But what have others done? Unused vacation times, long weekends, and the holidays are coming up. So can we travel for those? And what are the restrictions going to be maybe when the holiday season kicks in? Is it time for the world to open up, and should we be traveling as Americans or in and around our own country and states? Or do we find another way to practice staycations? So we've got a panel, a guest list today that I'd like to introduce quickly. We'd like you to stick around for the entire show to see what you can learn. Out of New Orleans, we have Ryan Grace Lane, a luxury travel advisor for BBR Travel, based in New Orleans, voted on the top luxury travel agents, one of the top luxury travel agencies in the United States. We also have Stephanie Neurohr. Stephanie is in Dallas, a former and famous Dallas Cowboy cheerleader, CEO and mommy mogul, working the delicate balance between home and work, and a best-selling author deep in the heart of Texas, Truths and Fictions of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. She travels often for her job and wants to share her tips for travel these days. Also, we have from Venice Beach, Jordan Simkovic, another seasoned traveler with a great deal of travel experience. We have Heather and Tim. Also, they're out of Dallas. They travel quite a bit for their own reasons, their business, and for family and others. And they have some anecdotes and tips they'd like to share. And our final guest is Heidi Wasserstein, a meditation coach and entrepreneur who loves to travel. She lives with a pre-existing condition and has found ways to live out loud with her travel experiences. So thank you, everyone, for being part of the show today. Welcome to America Connects. We'll lead off with Ryan Grace Lane out of New Orleans, a luxury travel advisor for BBR. Ryan, thanks for joining the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
So you are deep in this industry. What do you have to share with some of our audience that they can help?
You know, it's been really interesting because when this all first started, like you said, we thought it was going to be quite a bit shorter of a time frame than it has been. But, you know, it's been very eye-opening for me. I've done a lot overseas. I've done a lot, you know, of really exotic trips that have turned out to be closer to home this year. And that was something that I really had to open my portfolio too, you know, so that's been really, really interesting. Some of the things that we've seen our clients do and absolutely love. And I think it's going to continue for years to come now. Some of the things that they've done, Zion National Park, Yellowstone, Jackson Hole, things that have always been here and always been such a vital part of the travel industry in the States.
Sure.
But people have always been so quick to jump overseas or, you know, go somewhere where they found to be a little bit more exotic when they have the time off. So it's been really nice to see some of the places in the States become far more popular and be so successful with how much people have enjoyed it.
Bringing the scope in and exploring what's in our own borders.
Exactly.
You know, we when we're kids, we think, oh, we can't go to another state. But when we're adults, it's like, oh, we can't wait to get to another country. But like you were saying, there's a lot of discovery right here in our United States.
So many things that we've done for families that just their kids didn't have summer camp. So we kind of set up, you know, summer camp style vacations where it's been, you know, activity on activity, trying to get them to do things that they, you know, enjoyed even more than getting to do the typical summer experience. So it's been really, really interesting. Something else that we've really enjoyed is people are finding a way to kind of give back through all of this. We've done a lot of, now that things are more virtual and the kids not all kids at least, are going back to school in the classroom.
Right.
They're doing service projects around the States. So traveling and doing something here that gives back a little bit and gets the kids to do an educational type experience that isn't the typical classroom experience. You know, we're doing that not just in the States, but we have some clients that are doing that in Africa still. You know, so making the most of the fact that this is probably going to be the last time that, hopefully, knock on wood, that their kids won't be in a classroom all year long. So trying to do something different.
What surprised you this summer with people, with people's focus shifting to different kinds of vacations?
Just how quickly they were willing to get back out there, as long as we, you know, gave them the confidence that it was going to be able to be done safely and smart. So I was very shocked by that, and I was excited about that. But something else that really was their way to embrace, you know, the mask wearing and, you know, the destinations. That was a big thing for us. Like, do you want to go somewhere if you have to wear a mask? Well, we've come to find that's just the way of the world. So, you know, if you don't want to, don't go. It's kind of, you know, that simple because it's everywhere. So they've really embraced that. And that's been very, very good for us to see.
Have you seen, I know cruises are out of the question, but what do you see right now as trending?
The outdoor experiences. So anything where you can do hiking, biking, anything that's based outdoors, kind of social distance dude ranches have been incredible. It's kind of a camp within a vacation. Everything's based on property and you're in your own cottage with your own family. So you feel very comfortable not being on top of one another. And they've changed the way that they do their activities at most of these destinations, doing everything privately for just the people that traveled together. So it gives people much more sense of confidence that they're going to be safe and, you know, remain healthy while they're traveling.
A lot of national parks, are they getting an increased traffic flow as well? Do you work with those?
Yes, we've done a ton of national parks. They are getting more, but they're also limiting the amount of people. So you're not going to go and feel uncomfortable. You have to buy a ticket, and it's a certain amount of people are allowed per day. So they have found a way to make it so that people do feel as comfortable as possible. So they're still able to go and enjoy that outdoor experience and not, in fact, they've stopped in some of the national parks, such as Yosemite, which is so well known for having big tour buses. You can't take them in this year. So that's almost been a draw for people to do it this year rather than other years, because you're going to experience it unlike you would have another time with these mass crowds of tour buses.
I can see that. Are people still doing, I know when this thing started and the summer started around Memorial Day, there was a lot of pros and cons about beach traffic. Are you seeing a lot of beach vacations still, or are they overcrowded? We are. We've done a lot of, Mexico has been still very popular because unlike what you read, it doesn't portray it clearly. You can travel via air to Mexico. So we've still had a lot of people go down to Cabo and Cancun, Tulum, places where it's very spread out, and they would be able to, travel comfortably. Some of the other beach destinations started a little bit early, so they kind of got it was a little bit dicey for a minute, Florida had some trouble. Some of the destinations that opened a bit too quickly and didn't really enhance didn't know the correct protocols because it was, so soon in this pandemic. So they're starting to come back and become more popular as the end of the summer. Good. Ryan, Gracelyn, thank you for the opening commentary. I think it was helpful. I think it's really opening up people's imagination and thought patterns, because we get into a rut of what we like to do on vacations. It's hard to break out. So I appreciate your insights in trying.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome. I want to introduce next from Dallas, Stephanie Neurohr. Hi, Stephanie. Welcome. We know you travel quite a bit for your work. Tell us, myself and our audience, what have you seen and what have you experienced in regarding travel this past few months?
Well, Rob, I've actually done quite a bit of travel. And the first time that I took my family, I have 9 children, and we had just returned from Louisiana, Ryan, where we had an absolute, my husband and I just traveled alone, and it was right before everything shut down. I've never had more fun in my entire life. We just enjoyed it. It was not for work, it was for pleasure, and that was before mask. And and Lori Meslow, one of my very good friends, was horrified that I went, but we had so much fun, came back. Fortunately, we didn't get COVID, but then everyone was supposed to shelter in place and social distancing. This was even before everybody mandatory was supposed to wear a mask, or are now, in addition to 6 feet apart, et cetera. And so we put all the kids in an RV and we traveled across Texas. We have never had more fun in our life. We had the dogs, the kids. It was such a pleasure. And we did all of our cooking in the RV, the sleeping in the RV. And it was quite an experience, very positive. A couple of months ago, my husband wanted to travel somewhere for a break, and we chose Iceland. But Iceland closed its borders right before we traveled.
No kidding.
And so the travel guide shifted our thinking to Maine, where there were only 10 cases total in the entire state of COVID. And we went to Maine, and it was, again, we stayed in bed and breakfast.
Oh, it's beautiful up there.
We wore our mask. We social distance. Everything's spread out in Maine. And again, the only part that concerned me and gave me anxiety, honestly, was the travel on the airplane just for 4 hours, having a mask.
Yeah, you got to get there.
I wasn't quite used to that. My husband's a surgeon and it didn't bother him at all. But that was the only area that created a little anxiety. But I got through it. On Labor Day, my husband and I planned just to go alone again. And we're going to go to Telluride. I have a little bit of anxiety thinking about the airplane trip and the mask, but other than that, I'm going and doing it very safely with all protocols in place. and praying again, everything is safe and we're safe and don't pass anything on to anyone.
And how did the kids do with the travel?
The kids are great. I think my kids were amazing. They were fearless. We had never taken an RV anywhere, and they were excellent. And I just wanted to say, by the way, I am launching Mother of Nine, the number 9.com, and you'll find all of the information, what I'm doing on that. So that ties in with all my kids.
Wow.
And just trying to survive this COVID. I've been so pleased that I'm not alone. I really feel for those who are isolated and encourage them to do projects and anything that's safe and get out in the world a little bit just to keep your psyche and everything inside you, your mental well-being in place.
So the RV worked out well for you with
Yes.
having the full house. Do you see it working out with maybe just a couple? Maybe an empty nester or a young couple getting together. Would you recommend the RV experience for them as well?
I would. I am shocked that I love the RV as much as I did because I'm not an outdoor person.
Okay.
I haven't traveled in a car in years and years. But I would go with my husband in a heartbeat, without the kids, without the dogs. We just nonstop conversation and loved it. We went through Lubbock, Texas, my hometown, where I wrote the book about the true story of the real story of the Dallas Cowboys cheerleaders. So for me to travel across Texas in a car was something, and I'd love to go just with my husband. I'd do it again in a heartbeat.
Wow. And it's safe.
It's totally safe.
It is.
And I think that's where there's no anxiety.
Yeah.
You're just enjoying yourself. I've never laughed so hard in my life. My husband was the driver. Now, it would have been a different story if I had been driving.
Okay.
No way.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. And I too, having done it, I mean, I raised two boys myself. They're in their late 20s now, but back in the day, I mean, even when conversation got a little dull, we did audiobooks for the family. Just to if we got tired of the arguments or didn't have much to say, there's things you can do to entertain everybody. Even if you've got to be creative, Rob, and it sounds like you figured it out while your kids were growing up, and this is new territory for all of us. So let's all just keep trying, and main thing, keep a positive attitude. That is critical. And if you're having a hard time, call a friend, go do something, go outside and walk around the block. A lot of people have adopted pets and bought, I know one of my kids has a hamster, and then another bought a dog. Two of them have adopted dogs. So, we have a full house and everybody's going every which way but loose, but you're still stuck with four walls. You've got to get out and get creative. And be safe. Be safe, everyone. Don't let fear keep you inside, right? There are absolutely options. There are options out there, and this is what today's show on America Connects is about. Is you got to get out. You've got to treat yourself to a break, and there are ways to do it. Just start asking around. So, way to go, Rob. Thank you. I love what we're talking about. Thank you, Stephanie. I appreciate your personal insights. And by the way, good luck with motherofnine.com. I hope that works out for you. Everyone, come to my website. I will be greenlit in approximately 2 months. So you will love it. There is quite a bit of information on it for everyone. And we're in a rental house right now. Our house was destroyed by a tornado 8 months ago. Oh, yeah, got all of my hands and fingers amputated, and there is a lot of information about heart disease, parenting children, lots of subjects. Okay. All right. Well, good. I appreciate you taking part in America Connects today. Thank you, Stephanie. Thank you for having me. Nice to have you on the show. Thank you. Our next guest is from Venice Beach, Jordan Simkovic. Welcome, Jordan. Hi. Nice to have you with us on the show. You are in Venice Beach, a seasoned traveler with a great deal of travel experience. It looks like your mic is muted. Is that you or us? I just want to make sure. There you go. There you are. Hey, Welcome to the show. Welcome to America Connects. What do you want to share with us, and what can people learn from you?
Well, I actually had an insane experience this summer.
Oh, no.
I live in LA. My entire family is still in Miami, who I'm extremely, extremely close with.
Good.
And I would say before quarantine, I had probably gone about, the most I had ever been away from my family was about 3 months. So
wow.
I had visited around New Year's, Christmas, right before 2020. And right around the pandemic, I had actually a trip planned right around the time the pandemic started. So I pushed that back. My dad and I were actually going to go see Graham Nash together, who's one of his favorite musicians.
Okay.
We had to push that back, obviously. And, you know, I kind of thought that this was something that was going to blow over within maybe a couple of weeks, maybe at max
we all did.
months. But,
sure.
Turns out it didn't. And so right around June, I was talking to my family. First off, my grandma passed away right at the beginning of quarantine, and I had to do a Zoom funeral and a Zoom eulogy, which was incredibly, incredibly difficult for me not to be there with my family as we were all going through this. But so we had planned, instead of doing kind of a memorial for her on her birthday at the beginning of July, which also happens to be my sister's boyfriend's birthday, and he was planning on proposing that weekend. So I decided that I absolutely had to go down to Miami. I wasn't going to miss my sister's engagement. I wasn't going to miss this memorial.
Too much to miss.
So yeah. So luckily my wife's brother has an apartment in Miami. And so we went down there, quarantined for about 6 days. I took a test in Miami, which was a crazy, really unpleasant experience, which I can tell you a lot about.
We've heard some horror stories. Yeah.
Yeah. I literally was waiting in line for 6 hours, and then it took about 9 days for me to get my results. Yeah. But luckily, I came out negative after the flight and was able to spend time with my family. The interesting thing that I encountered kind of was the differing standards of risk tolerance even within my family.
Oh, really? Yeah, true. Okay.
So
even the microcosm of your family.
Yeah, my sister was to the point where it was like she didn't want me to. She wouldn't come within she wouldn't even touch anything that I had touched until I had gotten my test back. And so it was interesting. I personally, I mean, I'm wearing a mask constantly. I'm always taking care of my health. But for me, I never believed, especially this long into the quarantine, I didn't want to restrict myself from anything. So it was an interesting exercise in terms of gaining sympathy and empathy for maybe people who see things a little bit more strictly or are a little bit more panicked about this than I was.
Or people that have to be careful because of pre-existing conditions even.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
you gain some insight.
And around my parents are in their mid-60s, and so pretty much once it's different, and it's a different consideration and different calculus when I'm just talking about the risk to myself versus my parents and my grandparents especially. But ironically, my 91-year-old grandpa is still going into the office every day, is going into downtown Miami to his jewelry store, and he is just like, I don't think, So the difference between him and my sister was very interesting to see. Okay. And then right after Miami, we were supposed to go with my wife's parents, just celebrated their 25th anniversary. And they had been planning for years this trip to Croatia where we were going to rent a boat and just kind of hang out in Croatia. Wow. And that obviously got canceled because they weren't letting American tourists in. So we did kind of, piggybacking off of what Ryan said, we actually went to Cancun, which is a few hours away from where they live in Mexico, and had, honestly, midway through the trip, we were like, who needs Croatia? We were having such an amazing time.
It's closer and just as nice. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And you know what you realize is that it's not as much where you go as much as it is who you go with.
And determining that you're going to have a good time.
Yes, exactly.
Sometimes if you go in looking for a good time, you'll find it.
Yes,
you really will.
And we certainly did. And you know what? It's just, for me, the equation of seeing my family at that point, it had been so long. I just needed to go home. And honestly, the second I saw my mom, I just broke down crying.
It was all worth it.
It was such a release. And so you don't realize how much you're missing in terms of like that proximity and stuff like that, especially because family is so important to me.
Now, do you plan on going back, or are you gonna practice those same things?
Yeah, I'm planning on going back. I'm going to go back pretty much the entirety. My wife and I are lucky enough that we could work. My wife actually started a new job in quarantine, so she's been working remotely the entire time, and I work remotely as well. So we can kind of work from anywhere. So I'm planning on going back in order to be there for Thanksgiving and be able to celebrate Thanksgiving with my family comfortably. I think I'm going to go a few weeks before Thanksgiving and spend most of November and potentially even into the holidays.
Yeah, in the open, we'd mentioned holiday travel's coming up, and this is one reason I wanted to do the show early, is so that people can realize that it's okay, but we have to be safe and we have to practice safe practices.
Absolutely. And an interesting thing was witnessing the difference in my trips, because I took multiple different airlines going home.
Okay.
And some of my flights, my flight from LA to Miami was packed. My wife and I were sandwiched in the middle aisle between two people, and the entire plane was sold out. Whereas, and then the same thing with my flight to LA to Cancun was also packed. But then Cancun back to LA was Delta, and they didn't sell the middle seat, and we actually felt very comfortable.
Yeah.
My wife and I traveled with a shield and a mask. And I also, before I travel, I like to make sure, especially under these circumstances, knowing that my immunity might potentially be tested, I find it incredibly helpful just to make sure that I eat very well and sleep really, really well the few days leading up to my flight, so that my immune system can be where I hope it's going to be.
Good. It's a good advice. That way your systems are strong.
Yeah.
Resilient.
And I think that aspect of dealing with the coronavirus is unfortunately a little bit neglected. We spend so much time talking about masks, but not enough really time in terms of talking about our immune systems.
You're right.
And our ability to kind of fight this and take care of ourselves.
Jordan Simkovic, thank you very much. I appreciate your sharing, and I think people can actually pick up on a few things. And sometimes, as Ryan brought up, it's scaling back. You know, we don't have to have the exotics so much anymore, the exotic trips. We can just bring it home, closer to home, and even if closer to home means Mexico. So good choice for you. And do find time for family. We need to stay connected, but do it safely.
It's such a huge component of my mental health that it's something I'm not willing to I'm willing to put myself in whatever increased danger it might be just to be there with them.
Good. And prep before the trip is to sleep, eat well, and be healthy before, and be able to fight this stuff off.
Yes,
thank
absolutely.
you. Thanks, Jordan. I'm going to move on to from Dallas, Heather and Tim. Hey, y'all. Make sure you're off mute right down there in the corner. We want to be able to hear you when you talk. You're muted. There we go. We've got you. Heather and Tim, hi, welcome. I know you're in Dallas. You've been, both of you, I think, traveled quite a bit. What are some of your experiences, and what have you learned?
So I was the only traveler. Want to start?
Well, yeah, I guess
I was the only traveler.
had lots of different things, I guess, over the summer that I've experienced either through friends or otherwise. But I did go to San Diego. I think it's the whole air, going through with the airline, taking a flight was interesting, especially if you're not used to having the mask on all the time and people in such close proximity, that you can't get away from that. I found it interesting in just in the hotels, just a lot of different things. I think if people are going to travel, even thinking about what is it going to be like? The hotels have all these different processes that you need to, kind of go through, and their proximity and how many people in an elevator and that kind of thing. Making sure that you have a mask, like you said, Rob, is being prepared, and having that stuff so that you're ready to go with the mask or where you want to go. I went to San Diego. It's my hometown, so I flew there just to go see my mom. And
okay,
the Hotel Del Coronado is there, a famous hotel, but I didn't know that. We went to go look at that, and it's shut down. They've shut, and it's been there over 100 years, and they're using this opportunity, I guess, to remodel.
A remodel, sure, yeah.
But if that was something you were thinking about going to, you'd think that would probably be open, but there might be other reasons than like a Yosemite or whatever. Might be other reasons they're taking advantage of this.
Sure.
This screen is what people can see.
So I heard be prepared. Make a list and be prepared, and kind of lower your expectations and be flexible as you're traveling.
Yeah.
I get that. And call ahead to make sure that the places you want to visit are open. Yeah. Because you're right. There are some places that are literally taking the downtime to do remodeling and and updates and fresh paint and things like that. So this is a time where they're not losing much business anyway. So I get it. Heather, what about you? You've been traveling some. I know you go to Atlanta.
Yeah, well, mine's a little bit different. My husband, and he's in stage 4 cancer. So we traveled from Dallas to Atlanta to go to the Cancer Treatment Center of America. So it's every other week.
Well, and he has a pre-existing condition.
I'm sorry?
He has a pre-existing condition for sure.
He does. Yeah. He does. And they've been very good about allowing him to, pull his mask down just a little bit at times because the cancer has already spread, to the other organs. But I know what I noticed was it was very fast in the airport. We started flying out there like in May, and the lines were practically, really short.
5 or less.
Planes were kept clean. It just seemed a very slow pace, not hectic or anything.
Yeah.
But a lot of the hotels, a lot of parts of the hotels were closed off, like the lounges and stuff. So you had to get your food from, Grubhub or something,
Right.
You just couldn't eat at the restaurant. Yeah.
So you were surprised by the lack of traffic flow at the airports. Yeah. The first time you go to the airport, it can be alarming.
Yeah. And then with him too, it's like, his immune system is really compromised. So, he doesn't want to be around a lot of people, but there was hardly any lines. It was amazing. It just, we were in and out. So when I came back, I kept telling everybody, don't be afraid to fly, just try not to touch a lot of things. And if you do, just, keep wiping your hands.
Right. Yeah.
But no, I never had a sense of fear. So, and we do it. It's every other week. So.
It's funny how times have changed. A quick story about, you had mentioned the lines at the airports. I've been traveling some over the summer for what I do as well. And the other day I was in an airport and there were 4 people in line at TSA, and I was like, "What? 4 people in line?"
That's what it looked like. Yes.
Are you kidding me? I've got to wait behind four people, and then I kind of slapped myself, realizing, oh yeah. Yeah,
you're thinking that it's like shut down or something. You're not supposed to be there.
Well, earlier this summer, it was. You could go anywhere and there wasn't a line. But we're slowly waking up as people are venturing out. And that's what the show is about today on America Connects, is what are people doing and what are the experience and how safe is it to travel with precautionary measures? And with you traveling with your husband like you do, you really have to be cognizant of these things.
Oh, yeah. He's stage 4, so he's in the worst condition, but it's not stopping him from still, wanting to get out and go wherever. And we were talking about that the other day, just it's like, we're finding that people are wanting to visit family and friends more rather than just go on the exotic trips,
Like Ryan
it's almost like they're coming back down to like they're grounding themselves, and let's go visit family we haven't seen. So, and that's what we've been doing.
Did you, Tim or Heather, did either of you take a vacation this summer, an actual vacation?
No, I didn't. He did.
Yeah, I guess it was a few days. In San Diego when I went to see my mom. That was my vacation. Yeah, for sure. But that's kind of going home. So, yep.
And your dad.
Ryan, I wanted to bring you back in as the travel expert. And what have you heard in these conversations that you've been so patiently listening to? What comments do you have?
I just definitely agree with the fact that everybody's wanting to just spend time together more than, it's not about the destination anymore, especially right now. I had a family, several different families that traveled together, and they've traveled every summer, and this was definitely their favorite. They went out to some of the national parks, and it's something they never would have done otherwise, but it was just different. Yes. But the time spent together was far more important than the destination they were in. They loved the destination, but it wasn't about that.
Much like Jordan's experience, substituting Mexico for Croatia.
Yep.
So you're seeing that more and more, as you were saying.
Absolutely. We see, people are they're embracing the different in the new normal for now.
Wonderful. I want to see if our next guest is. Thank you, Ryan. I know you've been patiently listening, and I could see you nodding your head from time to time as well. And I felt like you were yes, that kind of thing. And
I'm like so excited when I hear people say, I'm like, that's it. Don't be afraid. The second you go to a hotel and stay there, you're not going to be scared to do it again because you really do feel so safe. It's just the first time. It's scary.
It's conquering the
And
fear.
it does help you your mental.
Yes.
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 I wanted to bring in someone who does travel with a pre-existing condition. Heidi. Is Heidi available? Oh, she's right over here.
Yes.
Hi.
Hello.
So you've been listening this whole time.
Yes.
You're a meditation coach and an entrepreneur who also loves to travel. And you travel with a pre-existing condition.
Yes.
What has your experience has been this first summer of COVID?
Well, to kind of dovetail off of what everybody else is saying is, yes, the first time in a hotel was like, ugh, but then like in every hotel I've ever stayed in since COVID, they always have that seal on the door. So it's like if you break the seal and then everything feels clean and sanitized. And so after that first time, and it just seemed so easy and natural and almost like pre-COVID, just everybody's much more like respectful and distant and like everything feels really clean. But I went to Vegas too a couple of weeks ago, which I was a little nervous about, and
I would have been too. Yeah,
was a trip.
Tell me about that.
So outside on the strip was a nightmare. So just stay inside the hotels because in the hotels, like people were social distancing or physical distancing, but outside it was just a circus. But the same thing, like people waited, like only like maybe like two couples or 2 to 3 people inside the elevator. So people just waited. It was not something that was being policed or being like managed by the hotel. It was just like we were all in this together.
Right.
Everybody was wearing masks. Yeah. And it was a lot of fun. And like my partner and I were talking that it's kind of like the best way to travel because there's not like, even in Vegas where there was a ton of people, it's not like that crowded, and restaurants, like you all have so much space now and you know, there's hand sanitizer everywhere. And I just think like, it's so funny, like how much I didn't wash my hands before all of this.
Yes.
And now it's just as soon as I come home, like the shoes are at the door, I wash my hands immediately, take off outside clothes, and I have house clothes. So everything I do just has this new routine, and it doesn't take any more time to feel like I'm protecting myself and others. And it's the same thing with travel. And so at least that's been my experience so far. And I've had so much fun. And kind of what everybody else has talked about as well is like that fear just starts to go away. It's just...
once you break through the barrier.
Yeah.
You'll start looking at it in the rearview mirror. The fear is way in the rearview mirror.
Yeah.
And you just accept. I think the important thing that someone mentioned is lowering the expectations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
being flexible and being open.
Exactly.
Right.
And checking ahead, it's almost like when we didn't have like GPS on our phones and we had to do MapQuest to find out where we were going. So it's like you have to MapQuest your events. I know. It's like, whoa. So you have to like MapQuest your experiences.
Yes.
But in some ways, that's kind of nice because it's like, especially like as a meditation coach, and just to touch on that real quickly with what Jordan said, you know, about really taking care of your body in these other ways, sleeping well, eating well. I meditate every day, and I run a couple of groups where we really focus on our immunity. And I've just found that, first of all, that helps me to really, really chill out. And then also it's like I'm really doing something good for myself, not just with sleeping and eating well, but just mentally taking care of myself. It's like a force field. So, and
force
with that,
field. I like that.
Yeah,
it is. It's your own self-imposed force field.
Yeah. So I don't know where I was going before that, but I did want to touch. No, it's my fault. I was like a tangent tree. Yeah.
Will you be traveling again soon?
Yes, I'm going to go up north. Also, I haven't been flying, so it's really great to hear everybody's experiences flying. I've just been doing road trips. And yeah, so I'm driving up north to visit my folks next weekend.
Okay.
But that's just family.
That's family. Yeah. And you're driving.
Yeah.
Getting an RV?
No.
Well, it came up in the conversation.
Right.
So
That would be ideal, but no, I don't think so. Yeah.
Well, it came up. So.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I'm great. I'm glad you're getting out, and I'm glad you had a good Vegas experience. I am. I think that was it's something I've heard about. I haven't met anyone that has gone, but I heard the hotels are nice. But yeah, the streets are of old. They're
Oh
packed.
yeah, no, it's like,
Yeah.
it's insane.
Yeah.
It's insane outside.
Yeah, but being respectful of each other's space is important, and you see a lot of self-monitoring, self-policing in the hotels, and they're big hotels. I think that helps.
Yeah.
As well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, good. Thank you, Heidi.
Yeah. No
Thanks for
problem.
being in
Thank
studio
you.
too. Yes. All right. We're nearing the end of our show. I wanted to remind everyone, Ryan Grace Lane, a U.S. travel expert with a BBR. Is it BBR? Did I get that right?
BBR Travel,
Good.
yes.
I was going off memory instead of my notes. So, your experience in the travel industry, more summer camp experiences this past summer, working with school-age kids and different experiences. Dude ranches, you noticed, were on the way up, as well as national parks, and people traveling, if they're going to cross the border, Mexico and Canada are very nice if you want to leave the States. Stephanie Neurohr is traveling. She has 9 children that she travels with. A wonderful experience with an RV, as well as a trip to Maine instead of Iceland. And motherof9.com. Her website's up and running soon. Jordan was necessary travel for traveling down to Miami, and what he was able to learn during his summer experiences. And he was fortunate enough to have a wonderful experience swapping out Mexico for where they wanted to go in Croatia. And Tim and Heather, their key elements were to be prepared and call ahead, and be ready for a few surprises as you travel, is what Heather said. So
Look for a hotel that's got all the food stuff across the street.
yeah. Yes, food that's close to home, close to the hotel. But I do think that from Ryan to Heidi, I think one of the big key points is it's not about the destination. It's just getting away and doing something fun with family. Any closing commentary or any comments before we leave?
I think we're finding that people are reconnecting with family and friends more.
Good. Yeah, don't isolate yourself so much. Get back to family. Ryan, anything?
Yeah, I think too, just maybe the adaptability, taking advantage of things. And even though things might not be the same way they always have been, that doesn't mean you can't have some great moments by just looking at things a little bit different, and you'll find something that maybe is going to be a treasure in the future.
Yeah, Tim, you had a good experience in San Diego. Will you be traveling again soon?
No immediate plans, but I would be happy to. Yes.
Well, there's a few more months left in this year, so be sure to squeeze some in.
Sure, yes.
Jordan, what would you like to close with us with?
I would just like to add that I found it really interesting in my travels I went down to Miami, the Florida Keys, Cancun, just how, it was a great summer, just how different, like the different cultural norms in those places, and how I feel like specifically geographically, it's kind of clustered around like ideas. And in terms of like starting from LA all the way down to the Florida Keys, where like LA, everybody is super masked and super considerate. Whereas in the Florida Keys, it was kind of just like it was the free for all, you know?
Yeah.
So I would say if you're considering going to a place, just kind of maybe talk to somebody around there to see kind of the way everybody else is handling it, especially if you're nervous about it. That could be something that could potentially, and maybe especially in terms of vetting locations, you can kind of get a good sense on how and what the general pathos is about the virus, and use that to decide where you want to go.
Call a hotel desk or even a visitors bureau or Chamber of Commerce or something, and get a heartbeat for what's going on over there.
Yeah, 100%.
Good idea. Heidi.
And also considering what kind of activities you do in there and what kind of activities you have planned, you can go from there.
Build your expectation, but still be flexible.
Exactly.
Yeah, good. Heidi, anything you were here for the whole show?
I think one of the things also was just practicing social and physical distancing, even staying at home, or that isolation, that I found that when I interact with friends in person and then my family next weekend, I just don't take it for granted anymore.
Yeah.
And where it's so easy to go over Zoom or FaceTime or something, but being an actual physical presence of somebody that you really care about, or a friend you have all this history with, is not something to be taken for granted.
Precious.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Family and time is precious, as is our health. So thank you, Heidi. Thank you, everyone, for being a part of our show today. I thought it was a powerful show. I hope everyone that was able to listen and watch take away some comments and some suggestions and some tips from all of our guests on the show today. You can still travel. It's not always about the destination. It's sometimes who you're traveling with, and each experience is in of itself unique, and as is every moment in life. So let's remember to take care of each other out there and be respectful of each other's space and health. I want to thank our two sponsors, getcovered.com, a conglomerate website for those needing health insurance coverage and medical coverage. Getcovered.com is a website where you can go from anywhere from the government health programs to individual insurance providers. It's a one-stop shop for everything you need for health insurance coverage. Getcovered.com. And Rigg Wealth Management, Brian Rigg, a former Marine, Yale grad, and historian, and a PhD from Cambridge, a man of incredible integrity, runs RiggWealthManagement.com. He is a fiduciary. He manages your clients' portfolios as you want them run, using your worlds, your expectations, and your outcomes, and your current situation all in the same time. He's author, a 5-time author. His most recent book, Flamethrower, is a biographical look at World War II a Marine who helped win the Battle of Iwo Jima with his actual flamethrower. So Flamethrower, available at Amazon. Thank you, everyone, once again for being part of the show. We are proud that you joined us. We hope you walked away with some information you can take when you take your next vacation. Do it safely, do it respectfully, but have a great time and spend the time with the ones you love. We thank you for being a part of it. America, let's stay connected. I'm Rob Dalton. Have a great day.